guys, Lowe's Car 50. So today we're going to be doing some suspension mods to the Cobra. We're going to try to lower it down a little bit. So these are the parts that I got. So before we get into the parts, I want to touch base about the car. The car already came with H&R Race springs along with some Coney adjustable shocks. And now the rear end also has a bunch of Maximum Motorsport bushings for the IRS. Now, doing my research about these cars, I found out that what's really popular is simply taking off the isolators from the springs. There's little plastic bushings that go one on the top, one on the bottom of each spring on every single corner. And supposedly, if you take one off, or each one is about 1/4 of an inch thick, so you can drop it 1/4 of an inch more, or even a 1/2 inch if you take both off. So, even though I was wanting to do coilovers on this car, I decided to just take approach of the fact that the car already has a decent suspension setup as is, and I'm just going to remove the isolators to get it to drop at least a 1/2 inch more throughout the whole car, and maybe even more, because supposedly this car has Maximum Motorsport isolators, and I've heard that those are a little bit thicker versus the OEM isolators. So I'm hoping for a nice decent drop. So with that being said, these are the parts that I got. So I have me a UPR Extreme Bump Steer Kit that I'm going to install. That's that. These are the front tie rods. I'm not sure if I might not need these since I'm going to put these on, but we'll see. These are going to be some inner tie rods because I want to tighten up the suspension, and upon inspection I kind of found out that the car may need these, so I'm going to go ahead and replace these as well. Along with that, I'm going to put some Steeda X2 ball joints. This alone will drop the car roughly 1/4 inch, and the kit did come with these spacers in case if I want to bring it back up to the standard height, because these do run a little bit lower versus the OEM ones. I might leave these off depending on how the car sits after it's all said and done, but we'll see. And finally, for the rear, I'm going to install some proper spacers. These are some H&R hub-centric spacers, and I'll open it up later on. But those are 1 inch thick, 25mm thick. So right now I have an LFP 3/8 inch spacer in the back, but that one is not like a bolted spacer like those will be. So I'm gonna take that one off, put the 1 inch spacer on, and that should really bring out the tire really dang close to the edge of the fender. Right now it's a little bit closer because of the spacer it has on right now, but once I take that off and put the 1 inch, it's really gonna push that whole wheel out, and it should be about flush, I'd say, but we'll see. But yeah, this is gonna be my my setup for now, until one day I get my dream wheel set up, which are the CCW Classics in 18 inch diameter. Those are like my ultimate dream wheel, but in the meantime I'm gonna enjoy the car as it is now, and I mean it already looks great, but it'll look even better with what I'm gonna do today. So let's get into it, guys. Alright, so I started with the back. I got everything all loose. So there's a couple ways to approach dropping the IRS in the back to change out the springs. The method I approached was to loosen my shock on both sides, took off my upper bolt for the IRS on both sides. I loosened up my tailpipes on both sides as well. But before I did all that, I had to support the differential with the jack. Put a little bit of pressure, not too much, because you don't want to damage the differential casing. But now that I got everything all off on both sides, I'm gonna slowly release the pressure on the jack, and hopefully this will start to pivot downwards, because we still have the front bolts mounted. So we're gonna do that and let's see what happens. So it's about how much the IRS dropped. Quite a few inches, but I was able to get out the spring. Yeah, and it does have the Maximum Motorsport isolators on there. These are really thick, so I think the car's gonna drop quite a substantial amount. I'm gonna take these off, clean these up, and I'm gonna wrap them up with some heavy duty Gorilla Tape on the top and the bottom to try to avoid any future noises from doing this. Those are the old isolators. I got everything nice and bolted back in, everything in place. I'm gonna put my H&R 1-inch spacers, put the wheels on, and then drop it, and we'll see how she looks. Other side finished as well. So here I got the old ball joint taken out from the passenger side versus the new Steeda X2 ball joint that I'm fixing to put in. This has been taking me a long time to be doing this today, but I might finish up late tonight. But either way, here's kind of what it all looks like. All taken apart. I'm fixing to put in the new ball joint there. The rear is done. But front is what I'm going to do next. Clean those up and put the new ball joints in, the new tie rod in, and should be good to go. Hard work, but it should be worth it. Once it's all said and done, it should look really great and feel really good too. So I'm finally done. Unfortunately, it's dark out, so I won't be able to record a car from the outside, but I'll wait till tomorrow. But here are my UPR bump steer extreme kit installed on both sides, and I have my ball joints as well. I have everything all tightened up. I'm about to put the wheel on both sides, torque on my lug nuts, and go for a little test drive to see how it feels and how it rides. So like on my bump steer kit, I fit the bushings just as I have it right there with the biggest one and the medium size on the top, and then the other two for the bottom. That happened to be what I needed for my setup. For those that need to install these in their car, it'll vary between car to car depending on what suspension setup you have. If you're lower, if you're taller, whatever. But for my case, this is what I needed to do. But online they have PDF instructions on how to install these, so that's it. So today's the next day, and after last night when I finished up, I took it out for a little spin just to make sure everything settled in, and the car to me looks absolutely amazing. It's not like slammed to the floor, and yes, there's some wheel gap, but it looks perfect in my opinion. And I took measurements of the total drop. But let's just take a minute, kind of walk around a little bit. So that's the front. Here's the back. Oh my gosh, and it just looks absolutely beautiful with those 1-inch spacers in the back too. It looks so aggressive. Here I have the measurements that I took before and after. So as you can see, the front, left and the right, I measured so from the bottom of the concrete to the top of the fender. So from here to right here to the center, on both sides I measured 26.5 inches. After the Steeda X2 ball joints and removing the isolators on the H&R Race springs, I measured 25 5/8. So that gave me a total of a 7/8 inch drop for the front. So almost a full inch, which is really good. And for the rear, I had measured 27 inches, and it came out to be 26 1/4. So about a 3/4 inch drop. So that's a lot more than a ½ inch drop that I had in mind. From what I've read, people say that the isolators measure about 1/4 inch thick, but in this case, I guess these Maximum Motorsport isolators are a little bit thicker, and that just proves it. Overall, I'm really happy. The car, it really feels great when you drive it, and I don't really want to go too slam because look, I'll show you guys something. Look under here. Oh, it's kind of hard to see. Yeah, there's my X-pipe. It's so low to the ground. Well, actually my whole exhaust system. So I would have been pushing it if I wanted to go way lower than that. And the area where I live in here in North Texas, the streets aren't that great unless if you're on the highway. But even though there's some gap, you got to keep in mind that these are 17-inch wheels, and ultimately one day I'd like to have some CCW classics in 18s. So overall it'll be a bigger wheel, slightly larger tire, so the gaps along the fenders will be covered pretty darn good. So that's the least of my concerns. But as of now, I think the car looks amazing. I couldn't be any more happier with the outcome, and really it relatively cost me nothing. I mean, the car already came with the H&R springs, so I replaced the ball joints because I supposedly needed them, and it's got new outer tie rods. And yesterday I was kind of, yeah, the car needs to get aligned, but yesterday just driving it around the block, the car felt a lot more solid, a little bit more nimble as well. So it felt really good. Overall, I'm really happy. It's definitely going to stay like this for a long time. It just looks so good. Oh my gosh, this car just looks super aggressive. So that pretty much covers it all for my suspension mods. Next up is to get an alignment, and afterwards this car is going to be dialed in, ready to hit the road. Thanks for watching, guys.